Good afternoon, everybody. If there's been a day that has seemed a little bit depressing out there, I think today is the day. Everybody that I've spoken to in day, I believe this is probably 14, depending on where you start counting from, of the coronavirus chaos, the shutdown, the pandemic that's happening throughout the world, and now it's really hitting the United States, and I think people are really starting to get scared. And I think today we really need to talk about how we're going to get through this mentally, because I think, I know for myself, I think I felt a little bit numb to everything that's going on, and I keep, having to try to be there for everybody else, and I think I've disconnected somewhat to how real this all is. And seeing what's going on in New York City and how the numbers are starting to increase a little bit, I think that, this is a time when everybody is just a little bit depressed and scared. So we got to pick everybody up, guys. We have to get through this, and we have to pick each other up. We have to pick each other up, and we have to help each other stay sane, because I can see today, and a lot of people that I have been talking to, that they're like, just about to crack, and we're only maybe halfway through the shutdown. So we have to help each other. We have to make some sort of new norm, and we just absolutely have to be there for one another in this time. And we're going to talk about all the crazy places that our heads are going today, because I think it's important so that everybody watching understands that you're not alone, that everybody's thinking about this. I want to say hi to Franco. Ciao Franco. Come stai in Italia? Come va tutto? It's been a tough time for Italy, and I have they're like my family over there, the Basile family, and I think they're all safe, but it's been a really hard go of it over there in Italy. So I want to start with, the news of the day. But before I get into the news of the day, since this has been such a difficult time for everybody financially, and a scary time, I decided to do a little research on the stimulus package, the emergency package that's happening, hopefully, and kind of the crazy things that are coming out of that. But, trying to give it a positive spin or a humorous spin, because we don't get to doom and gloom on this show. We do not. I am a mental health counselor and a marriage and family therapist who is here to brighten up your day and help you calm down and relax and feel like you are not alone and you are not the only person out there that's having a hard time. So we're going to talk about so much today. And I'm really excited, and I can't wait to hear from everybody out there. But one of the things that I decided I want to do on the show, since I'm doing this every day until further notice, is I want to build up and sort of plug some local businesses here in the eastern suburbs in the Pittsburgh area, because that is where I am. And I want to, so if anyone has a local business that's hurting, call me, text me, write me, because I want to plug you. And right now I'm just plugging the businesses that I, am connected to in some way. So today's lucky business is Olives and Peppers Restaurant. Olives and Peppers has 2 locations, but the one that I've been to and where they're really pumping out the takeout food is in the Penn Trafford area. And the address, which I will repeat several times, is 833 Harrison City Road. And right in the eastern suburbs, I have eaten there many times. The food is spectacular. It's Italian food, and we all need some good food through all of this to get us through. We need a nice big fresh bowl of pasta, beautiful Italian food. They have veal and chicken and seafood. I've had their linguine with red clam sauce. That's my favorite. They also have sandwiches, and it's all takeout. So I'm gonna post all of this on my page, but I want to tell everyone in the eastern suburbs in Pittsburgh, if you're hungry tonight, you're sick of cooking at home, take out from Olives and Peppers, locally owned, locally developed company, and they're wonderful people, a wonderful, beautiful family that I'm so honored to have a connection to. They're just wonderful people. So everyone get out there and go to Olives and Peppers tonight, tomorrow night, every night, whenever you want. We need to support our local restaurants and our local businesses. Okay, moving on, and we'll get back to Olives and Peppers later. Right now, I want to go over some of the stimulus package. So first of all, I know I'm not an economic expert, so I'm trying to understand this and break it down for everyone who's watching in the most simple terms as possible. What is a stimulus package? A stimulus package is basically an economic, financial, I'm going to call it burst of money or huge sum of money that a government puts into an economy to reduce taxes and or put money in the pockets of people so that it stimulates them to be able to spend. And only time a stimulus package is really passed is when an economy is in trouble. So President Trump, probably at the beginning of the week or late last week, was trying to pass this stimulus package. And as probably a lot of us know, he had a lot of trouble doing that because unfortunately the whole subject became very political. And so here we are, I think it's Friday, I think he started this on Monday, and it's almost passed, but there's this one senator from Kentucky that is holding out. And his reason, what the mainstream media is reporting, is that his reason for not being the lone man to hold up this stimulus package for the country, what the mainstream media is telling you is that he's doing it because in the Constitution it says in order for legislation like this to be passed, you have to have a quorum, and a quorum would be 216 people. And a lot of people, even our senators, are sick or they're self-quarantining, they're in self-quarantine. So that's supposedly why he is holding this up. But I did a little further investigation, and again, I am not the journalist. I am reading what the journalists are putting out there, and I'm reporting it to you. What I found out is that he doesn't like this piece of legislation. He doesn't like the stimulus package because he doesn't understand where the money's coming from. So again, don't shoot the messenger here. I'm trying to go beyond mainstream media and look at a lot of the sites that I would consider a little more intellectual and some of the political experts, and just reading what different people who don't have a dog in the fight here really politically, are saying. And it seems like what's happening is this guy really is saying, like, hey, where's all this money coming from? How are we going to pay for this stimulus package? And of course, all of us who have had our income so greatly impacted, and the economy is so greatly impacted, or we want this to pass, and finally Democrats and Republicans agreed. And here's this one guy, his name is Massey, I believe his last name is, I wrote it down somewhere, I can't find it, but something Massey. He's a young guy from northern Tennessee. So if you're interested in learning more about that story, it's kind of interesting. Check it out, do your own investigating, and I will keep watching all this and see if I can bring you more information. But okay, so let's get to this stimulus package. So we kind of talked about what that is. It's just a huge sum of money that the government comes up with. How they come up with it, I have no idea where we're getting $2 trillion, but hey, I guess we'll worry about that later. Right now, I think what the administration is trying to do, the government is trying to do, is calm us down, give us hope, let us know that they're thinking about us, they understand the plight of the average American and how the economy is going to, what happens in the economy really affects everybody. So I think they get that. So all right, so enough of that. So let's talk about it. So it's a $2 trillion. I don't even know how many zeros that is. $2 trillion. Okay. And I'm just going to break it down real simply, and then we'll move on to the mental health aspect. But I think that the economic piece is directly related to our mental health, because if we think that we're not going to have any money, or we don't know how we're going to pay our bills or buy groceries, that's going to cause a type of stress that is really immeasurable. if any of you have ever been in that situation, it's horrible. And, and even myself and probably most of you watching really have not that much to complain about when you really think about the poverty in this country. And, I think this is sort of going to be an economic equalizer if we don't do something. So let's read about it. So, okay, so what does it mean for us? Me, you watching, all of us out there. Basically what it means is most people are going to get either $1,200 a piece or $2,400 for a married couple and $500 per kid. Okay? The hospitals, and now there is some, well, I'll get to it later. It's not going to look so good for us people who are self-employed like myself or business owners. We don't get too much out of this at all. But if you're employed, you're likely, and you make, I think, under $75,000 or $150 as a couple, you're going to get $1,200 a piece and $2,400 for a married couple and $500 for a kid. Let's jump to unemployment. This is actually kind of interesting. If you sign up for unemployment, you're going to get your regular state benefits, whatever that might be, whatever your regular state benefits would be. But on top of that, in this stimulus package, you're going to get an extra $600 a week for up to 4 months. That's pretty good. Now, I've heard some people kind of complaining about this. Well, people are going to be getting more than they actually made. And my feeling at this point is just, so what? Let's let everyone just have a break and be happy, because this is mentally so stressful, like whatever, So, okay, so unemployment, you're going to get $600 a week on top of your regular state benefits. So whatever you would normally get from the state of Pennsylvania, you're going to get, but then you're going to get another $600 per week on top of that for up to 4 months. And I don't know how they figure all that out, but that's, good news for most average Americans. Employers and self-employed, not so great for us. We can defer 6.2% of our tax burden that we pay on wages and use it to fund Social Security. I don't know, I'm probably reading this wrong, but we get a 6.2 tax break. All right, that's about it. So we don't get too much. I've heard rumors. I'm not clear on whether or not self-employed people can collect unemployment. I thought that at first they could, and now I'm thinking they can't, and business owners can't. But there is it's a 6.2% tax rebate, I think, also on wages that if you're keeping your employees, you get another tax break. If you keep your employees on the payroll through the next several months of the shutdown, then you get an extra bonus. Okay, so I'm not an economic expert. I'm reading articles just like you, and I'm trying to look for the best information that seems the least biased and relay it to you the best that I can. So hospitals are going to get $100 billion of help, and there's $500 billion to struggling industries like airlines, cities, and states. Business, I said businesses get a credit for keeping their employees employed, and the hospitals get $100 billion. I think of the $500 billion that's set aside for struggling industries, it's also going to be there for cities and states that run into trouble through all this. So it's a pretty accurate breakdown from what I could find out of how this is going to work. And as of about an hour ago, this one senator in Kentucky is still holding it up. Kind of interesting, kind of frustrating. We need hope, because I think that the markets will continue to go up if Americans believe that there's hope and that there's an end to this. So that's the financial news update for today. Unfortunately, the numbers are rising of people that are getting it, and so of course more people are unfortunately dying from this. And I heard that 100% of the people who are dying from this are over 50, but I'm 44. That's not so far away from my age and my group of friends. And so it's starting to get a little bit scary. And I had said earlier that, I think I've numbed out to this because I really have to be there for all of you, and I have to be there for my clients. And I had a couple panicked calls from physicians today that are my clients, needing some words of calm. And, I'm doing the best I can to come up with things that will keep us together. So I was doing yoga this morning, and my yoga teacher online, of course, Travis Elliott, he's awesome. If anyone wants to look him up on YouTube, he's got lots of free yoga classes, and he's my favorite. Well, he said that something in class today, that if you change your perspective, if you change the way you see things, the things you see will change. So let's think about that. If you change the way you see things, the things you see will change. So I've been coming up with I've been trying to look and think about things that I can say to comfort the people on the front lines who are looking to me for guidance. And I'm actually glad they're looking to me, and I don't know what I can offer them. I'm trying, but it's a scary time out there. But I know that at least knowing that someone is there for you on the other line, I think is a little bit comforting. So I want to talk about some of the crazy things that are going through our minds at this point. And I don't know about any of you, but this morning I woke up and I started watching the news, and I've been waking up extremely early lately. I don't know why. I guess because I'm not doing as much during the day, so I'm not as tired. And I started thinking about my own mortality, and my dog, of course, wants to be a part of this. I started thinking about my own mortality, and, what if I got this? And what if somebody I love, gets this or dies from it? How am I going to handle that? And I saw some people on Facebook are starting to experience some losses of friends and family from this, and it's starting to really touch home. So I thought that what I would share with everybody, my mother, who was my everything and my best friend, she died about 6 years ago at 68. She was very young, and 7 years prior to that, she was diagnosed with lung cancer, stage 4. And what's really amazing is that nobody diagnosed with stage 4 cancer of any kind usually makes it very long. Well, my mother did. She made it almost 7 years. But those 7 years of being scared were very difficult for me emotionally, and difficult for my family, and especially difficult for her. So I have some pictures of my mom, and this is my mom. She's looking really beautiful and sassy in her sunglasses and her leather jacket, and she was always dressed beautifully. And I have this other picture of my parents that I thought I'd bring out. This is my mom and dad, and this is in the 70s, as you can see. And my parents are both deceased. And the reason I was thinking about them, and I bet a lot of you out there are thinking more about your loved ones who are not here with us. I know I've been thinking a lot more about my mom because we have so much time on our hands. And what I've been really thinking about is those 7 years that she was sick with cancer. We never had any, we never knew how long she would make it. We didn't know if she would live for 2 years, if she would live the rest of her life, if she would live a couple weeks. We never knew. And when you have cancer, you have to get scanned every 3 months to make sure that, to see where the cancer is and how it's progressing or not progressing, and to see if the treatments are working. And every 3 months, when my mother would go in for the CT scans, I was a nervous wreck. And I was living in Miami at the time, so I wasn't here with her. And how I talked myself out of being scared about losing her, or scared about what the scans would say, is I would consistently tell myself that if I assume that the outcome of these tests are going to be bad, or I walk around every day a nervous wreck because my mother I could lose her at any moment, I thought, well, what about the fact that she might have a great scan? And I will have all of this doom and gloom and anxiety and being scared for no reason because she's going to be okay, or maybe she'll live another 4 years. So I tried during those 6-7 years to really think about not even necessarily being positive, but I tried to be, but also realizing that if I'm anxious and upset every day, it's going to ruin my quality of life, and I have no way of knowing, how it's going to turn out. And I don't know why somebody just pushed a laugh button. I'm not sure what's funny about this, but anyway. So, and I realized that basically, I want to enjoy my quality of life, and I want to enjoy the rest of the time I have with my mom. So I'm going to choose not to get swallowed up and buried in the fear and the anxiety. And I didn't always do it as well as I wanted to, but I certainly tried. And I think that this is the mindset that we all have to take right now. We all have to realize that we don't really know what's going to happen, and that in itself makes us anxious. But if we really think about it, might not happen. I mean, there are medications that are working. There are a wonderful response from our health community, from our hospitalizations, from everything. There's a great response going on right now. And maybe this is going to pass a lot quicker than we expected. Maybe we won't lose as many people as we are afraid of. Hopefully, if we're being safe and we're following measures, we're not even going to get it. And and if we're practicing the right precautions with our elderly family and friends, then there's much less to worry about. So I think that if we just do what we're being told and we follow these orders to, only go out if it's extremely necessary. Pennsylvania has put a list out of the essential businesses, and I am on that list. So I'm allowed to practice legally if I wanted to in my office, but I'm choosing not to. I'm choosing to do it this way because I want to keep myself and everybody that I love as safe as possible. So I think if we follow those things, it's not a guarantee, but we can kind of use the mindset that I used to get myself through those 7 years of my mother, struggling from cancer. And she did make it 7 years with stage 4 lung cancer. And all of her, all of those 7 years, there were times when she had a little, spread to her bones or spread to her brain. And then, she would go through treatment and we'd get rid of it. And this became the new norm for our family. And it wasn't always very easy, but we made it. And I think that type of mindset is what we all need to have right now. Instead of, constantly imagining the worst or fantasizing about the biggest catastrophes that could happen, we don't want to destroy our quality of life that we have now. And if you think about it, we still have a pretty damn good quality of life considering what's happening. We have freedom. We have a government that's taking care of all of this, and it's helping us. We have each other, and you have this outlet. I mean, not that this is any huge prize, but it's something out there for people where you can turn, and I'm available to anybody who wants to talk. And I just really think that that's the mindset that we need. And I was feeling today that everybody I talked to, and I talked to a lot of people, even just this morning, keeping myself busy on the phone, because if I don't have clients, I'm just going to be talking to my friends and family, and everyone's so depressed today. And I found myself, going down that road this morning, but I said, Elizabeth, you know what? You have to get up, you have to get out there, and you have to contribute in whatever way that you can and try to keep a good attitude, because logically speaking, we all will probably be fine. But again, the images that we're seeing and the possibilities of what can happen, are really making people crazy. But if you want to put things in a better perspective, think about my mom. Think about what she had to live through for 7 years, not knowing whether she was going to live or die, getting diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer and fighting. And I think that's the attitude we really need to take here. And we're not even sick. Most of us aren't even sick. So think about the people right now who are out there who are, completely alone. And there are people like that. They have no friends. They have no family to be with. They don't have pets. They don't have anything to be there for them. People who are dying of diseases. Think about all the horrible things going on in other countries where they don't have the medical care and the really healthy and wealthy government to take care of its people. We all have become somewhat, I think, spoiled in our American ways. There's something called the politics of affluence. And politics of affluence means that when a culture becomes so affluent, they don't realize how affluent they are. And so they stop caring about what's going on and they become very self-focused. And I think maybe our country got like that. And we have everything. Even people who have extreme poverty, they still have cable television and they have cell phones and public transportation. And, we are a very blessed nation and country, even with what's going on right now, if you really think about it. Imagine if you were in a third world country or a communist country or, somewhere with bad health care and old hospitals, and many countries all over the world, people are living like that. So there's a lot to be thankful for. And if you think about the things that, some of our loved ones have been through with their health, if you think about things we've been through at other times, it's not so bad. It certainly could be worse. I was thinking, what if we were invaded physically, with bombs or missiles or, something awful like 9/11. That was, not that this isn't terrible, but to me, that was an atrocity. And at least we have options to be safe. We really do. So I'm going to take a look at the screen. I've been talking and I haven't really seen what you guys are saying. So I'm going to go through this and see. Not too many people talking today. I hope I didn't make people sad. Okay, let's see. Thank you for doing research. Renee Smith, Bella Schaefer, Sandy Crackers here. Hello, you're new to us. Thank you for sharing a story about your beautiful mother. Thank you for appreciating it. And she really was an amazing woman who could be an inspiration to all of us. Do you have any suggestions for helping seniors who are in homes that are not allowed visitors who must be so lonely? That's a tough question to answer. Let me think for a second. Something I recommended to one of my clients, and I don't know if this is really acceptable right now, but I know you're only supposed to get tested at this point if you have symptoms. But I just wonder if we could go get tested, tell the people at the testing centers, hey, I am caring for an elderly person and I need to get tested because if I'm negative, I want to try and get in to see them. I have no idea if that will work. I literally made it up the other day, but I was thinking, I wonder if there's some way we could do that. And I think as time goes on, we are going to get more tests in our hands. I know that's coming. So I think that if we are, if we have somebody who's elderly that we cannot see, maybe we should be allowed to get tested now so that we can go see them and be there for them. And, I think also calling them a lot is important. Maybe dropping off flowers or, some little gift to brighten up their day might be something that you could do. I think anything that we can do will make us feel a little bit better about what's happening. It's definitely a sad time if you are not allowed to see your aging parents. I know one friend of mine, her parents aren't in a home, but they're in their 90s, and both of her parents. And she, suits up when she goes to see them. She, puts on masks and gloves and she covers herself, but they cannot fend for themselves. So that's what she has to do. So I think there's a lot of people out there in these very unique situations that feel so helpless, and I think that's what your question's addressing. It's that feeling of helplessness. So what can we do about it? And I think we have to take some kind of action. Calling a lot, and I think dropping off things is really nice to brighten up their day. But I know we want to see them, we want to touch them, we want to hug them, and it might not be possible right now, but I'm just wondering if we can look into, hey, if we're responsible for the elderly, if we can go get tested and just find out, and if we're negative, then we don't have to worry. I'm thinking I'd probably do that if my mother was alive now, and I've thought about it, and she had cancer. That's what I would do, because I couldn't be away from her, during this. That would be just too horrible. But I know you're not supposed to do that right now, but I would probably do it. I'm known to break the rules every once in a while. But so that's, those are some ideas, but these are important questions. Let me see what else is happening here today. Virtual hospital, we can help. Bioma genetismo médico bioenergética and biológica mediante factores cuánticos. Let me see. I don't know exactly what that means. I don't understand that. I think it's Spanish. If anyone speaks Spanish out there and can translate, that would be great. I'm thinking the seniors in these homes will be ones who will suffer greatly from depression. Yeah. Elderly suffer from depression anyway. And the reason they tend to suffer from depression are for a few reasons. Number one is they tend to be somewhat ignored because a lot of times their hearing and their eyesight isn't in full operation. And so when they go out, they feel left out. But a lot of times they don't want to say that they can't hear or they can't see. But I've heard that from some of my senior clients, that it becomes very difficult for them to feel like a part of family get-togethers and whatnot. So then what happens is they tend to isolate. And a lot of times the elderly can be very chatty because they have so few people that they get to talk to on a regular basis. So, a lot of times when you have conversations with seniors, they tend to, talk a lot. And, it can be a little frustrating sometimes if you're charged with taking care of them. But you have to remember it's because they have so few opportunities to connect to people that they, they get so excited and they just talk a lot, and sometimes they talk, in circles, and it's hard to keep, I guess in line with what they're talking about sometimes. But they don't. They're not thinking any differently than they did when they were my age, but they just don't have all the tools to be able to connect. So elderly people tend to get very depressed and isolate. They also tend to get very depressed because all of their peers are dying. And so they've seen so many of their friends pass away, and that it really starts to get to them after a while. It becomes very depressing. And then add to that, sometimes they can't get around as well, and things are very aches and pains. And so they just don't have the ability to jump into society like us younger people do. And so it gets quite depressing for some elderly people. So if they're in homes, they are going to suffer greatly. I think they're so vulnerable to catching things because their immunities aren't great. They don't eat a lot. One of the reasons that I've been told by one of my friends who is a nurse is that when people are dying as they get older, they lose their taste buds, and the only thing that they can taste are sweets. So a lot of times their diets aren't so healthy. So they've got so many things going against them to cause depression. And of course, the isolation is the big one. Think about no matter what age you are, whenever you're going through something really hard, you tend to go through it alone. Even if people are around you and people are talking to you, we are all alone in our grief in some ways. And we are all alone in our sadness sometimes. And imagine being in a home where you're not seeing whatever family you have left. You know that something really scary is going on in society. You know that you're the most vulnerable to it. I think, those are the people who are definitely going to suffer the most in every way, mentally and physically. I know that the more anxious we become as a society, the more stressed we become, the more cortisol we release, which is a stress hormone. And when our stress hormones are being released on a regular basis, like most of us are right now, that alone hurts the immune system. It also depletes the production of the neurotransmitters or the chemicals in our brain that keep us feeling good. So it's depleting the things that make us feel good. It's hurting our immune system, and it can then lead to depression. Believe it or not everybody who's anxious becomes depressed, but a very good number of people with a lot of anxiety do become depressed. There's some people who, I know I haven't seen my niece and nephew in a long time. I keep talking about them every show because my sister-in-law, and brother, they're really locked down to protect the children and themselves, and I respect it, and I give them a lot of credit because I know it's really hard to lock yourself down. It's not easy. It's easier to keep running around. It's harder to stay at home. And so all of these pressures that we're all dealing with now are releasing our stress hormones, and our stress hormones are supposed to protect us. They're supposed to, in crisis, make us move and do what we need to do to save our lives. But when they're responding to the news media and they're responding to, the threat of this virus, then it's hurting our immune system in some ways unnecessarily so, because most of us do not have it. I think while the United States did surpass China in mortality, which is kind of strange because China has more people, but for whatever reason, it's what's happening here. But even having said that, I think there's been maybe 1,000 or so deaths, which is horrible. But comparatively speaking, if you're looking at this in a numbers game, I think the U.S. has a couple 100 million people, and we've had 1,000 deaths, it's sad. I mean, it's horrible. It's unnecessary that it happened, but in the big picture, probably most of us will be fine. And half of those deaths are all accounted for by New York, which is scary. Okay, let's see what else we have going on here. I was thinking of putting little care packages together and dropping them off. I think that's a great idea. I think, little care packages and, maybe a beautiful plant and some flowers. I mean, I know flowers always cheer me up. I don't know, everyone has their things, but I think that's a beautiful idea. And maybe that's something that, we can do all of us can do together, drop things off at senior homes. And I wish I could take my pets in, because I know a lot of senior homes have therapy dogs that come in, and I have too, but I don't think I'd be allowed right now. Okay. Hello, Tia. FaceTime has been such a great tool to keep in touch with my grandmother. Yes. For those seniors who can use cell phones and know how to FaceTime, it's fabulous. My boyfriend's father's 92, and he can't even use a flip phone, barely. So but yes, if they know how to use it and they have one, of course, it's fantastic. You can use FaceTime and Skype, and I know there's so many different ways that you can keep in touch with people on Messenger. Okay, I think we have someone who translated. Okay, Mena Marsal, hello. I hope I'm saying your name right. And where are you from? Please tell me. Alternative therapy like biomagnetism helps people around the world with COVID-19 to have better health. Okay, in minutes, translate and explain better. Sorry, thank you. Okay, that does make does anyone know what biomagnetism is? I've never heard of it, but I'm so excited that people are watching from around the world. This is so exciting. I know we have Italy in the house. Hello, Italia. We have, I don't know, we have lots of United States. We have lots of Americans on, and I'd like to know, Mena, where are you from? And thank you so much for joining us. I'm from Argentina. Oh, I love Argentina. Hello, Mena. Thank you so much for joining us today. Everyone say hello to our friends from all over the world today. This is wonderful. I guess you speak English, Mena. A lot of people think I'm Argentinian, by the way. I'm not, but a lot of people always think that. Argentina is a beautiful culture. Glad you're with us. What's going on in Argentina with COVID-19? If you could let us know, I'd be curious to find out. We've had people here from India and Chile, and it's very exciting to be talking to people through this medium. It's very exciting. So what are some of the crazy thoughts that you're having? Where's your mind going? I told you guys where mine was going. Mine was going to, oh my God, what if I get this? Oh my God, what if someone I love gets it? What if my boyfriend gets it and then we can't see each other? All of these, your mind just goes. But I think of my mom, and I think about what a fighter she was, and I think about what she taught me about, focusing on the now and focusing on all the wonderful things that we have in our wonderful relationships and family, and I get inspired. And so I thank you to my mother for teaching me those things. And my dad was like that too, and he died much younger. And so I didn't have, unfortunately, I was too young to really understand what was going on. But so many of us have been through so many times that are so much harder than this, if you really think about it. My biggest worry is for my mother. She's a healthy woman, but I can't help but worry. Yeah, I know. And I know your mom, and she's beautiful and healthy and strong. And she doesn't seem like a candidate to me, but she has no health problems, but you do worry. That's real. And so, are you, is your mom leaving the house? What is she doing? What are you guys doing as a family to make sure that, mom is safe? I also worry about those who are uninsured and what they are able to get what they need. Okay, so I do know a little something about that. According to President Trump, a couple days ago, I heard in one of his press conferences say that doesn't matter right now whether you're insured or not. If you want to get tested for COVID-19, you can go get tested and there's no charge. And if you go to the hospital because of it, the government will take care of those costs. So you don't have to worry if you're uninsured. If you would if you would catch this virus, you're covered. You're covered, which is wonderful, right? And that's the part of the stimulus package where the hospitals are getting, I think, $100 billion. So we will all be well taken care of, but that's a great question. And no, okay, so you're not letting your mom leave, who's 70. I don't blame you. I wouldn't, if my mother were here, I wouldn't let her leave. And I think that people are starting to get, cabin fever and stir crazy. And when that happens, we kind of think crazy things and we do crazy things. And so you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to talk to you guys about, if any of you are my clients out there, you've likely been taught this by me before, but there's something in one of the therapy models that I'm trained in that is called the ABCs. And I'm going to try and write this on a piece of paper. And if any of my clients are watching right now, they're probably laughing. But the ABCs is a way of disputing irrational thoughts. Okay? So A stands for activating event. Okay? B stands for beliefs. And C stands for consequences. Okay? So if you guys can, A plus B equals C. Okay? So A stands for activating event. B stands for your beliefs about that activating event. And C equals consequences. Okay, so let's do this for COVID, okay, for COVID-19, for those of you who are concerned about an elderly parent, a friend, yourself. Okay, so A, the activating event would be contracting COVID. Okay, that's the activating event. You're scared about contracting COVID. And if we jump to C, the consequences of the activating event are anxiety, fear, depression, ruminating thoughts, all kinds of things like that. B are your beliefs about the activating event. So B are all the things that you're thinking that may or may not be true. And most of our beliefs are irrational thoughts. So A, the activating event is I'm scared about getting the virus or someone I love gets the virus. My beliefs are probably like, if I get it, I know my fear is being on a ventilator. The thought of like a tube being down my throat, that's honestly what freaks me out more than anything. That's just me. I might be on a ventilator and then I won't be able to handle it. I have to do everything I can to protect my parents and myself or I'm a bad person. If I get it, I'm going to die. If I get it, I'm going to infect my entire family. All of those are the beliefs about COVID. Another false belief I think that we have right now is, oh my God, this is the end of the world. Okay, this is apocalyptic. This is a plague. And then again, our C would then be fear, anxiety, depression, all of the negative psychological things that happen to us. So what the ABCs show you is that it's not the activating event itself that's causing anxiety, depression, and all the negative things. It's your beliefs about COVID that are causing the anxiety and depression. So one more time, we'll walk through this. Your ABCs are A, the activating event, which is I'm afraid of catching COVID. B, if I catch it, I'm going to die. If I catch it, it's the end of the world and everyone's going to die and I might be on a ventilator. And if I don't protect my family, then I'm a bad person. And all of those irrational thoughts, okay? Because if you look at the numbers say it all, okay? And then C is the consequences. Okay, so it's our beliefs about things that cause the anxiety, the sadness, the depression, the fear, the worry, the ruminating thoughts, not the actual event. So events happen and they just happen. But we decide how we think about those events. It's our beliefs that cause the anxiety, not the actual event. So if you can jot down on a piece of paper, and I do this with all my clients at some point for anxiety, if you can jot down the ABCs, A, activating event, B, beliefs about the event that equal all of the mental health consequences, okay? So you can jot down. I do it sometimes. If I'm upset about something, I'll write in my journal ABC, and I'll say, okay, what's the activating event? What are my beliefs and what are the consequences? And the consequences are usually feeling bad about yourself, feeling guilty, feeling anxious, feeling depressed, all of those things. But again, it's not actually the event that's causing it. It's our beliefs about it. It's how we think about it. So that's a fun little tool that might help you get through all this. And, you have to think, realistically that we've been instructed by our health professionals how to stay safe. We've been given very clear directives, and if you go to the Center for Disease Control website, they have a section dedicated to that. If you go to Pennsylvania, if you're in Pennsylvania, and you go to the Pennsylvania Center for Disease Control online, it'll tell you everything that's going on. I did hear that more counties are being added to the stay-at-home order. Not all the counties in Pennsylvania are in it because some of them have very few cases. And where I am in Westmoreland County, I know that we only had a couple cases, but I heard that Westmoreland might be added to the stay-at-home order and to be home by 8 o'clock and only go out if necessary, which I think anyone should be doing anyway, if you really think about it. So that's my advice about your anxiety. So does anyone have any questions? Are you able to share some of the websites and news sites that you're using to do research? Yes, I am. I can put those up afterwards, but I was looking at Politico. I think it was Politico.com, and I have to look because I can't remember, but I think that was one of them. And one of my friends, she sent me a couple websites earlier, which are in my phone, and I can't get to them right now. But I was looking at Politico for all the stimulus package information. And if you're just tuning in, when we started out with our News of the Day segment, I was talking about the stimulus package and what that means for all of us and what we should all expect. But there's a little disturbance thrown in the game here where this one Republican young senator from northern Kentucky is objecting to the bill. And what the news media is saying is that when I'm talking about like the cable news that I've been watching and all the news outlets are reporting that the reason he is objecting is because in the Constitution it says you have to have a quorum in order to have an official vote on legislation, and a quorum would mean 216 people present in person. But because of the virus, and so many of our politicians are, self-quarantining, and which I think they should be allowed to do. And a couple of them have actually contracted the virus, so obviously they can't be there. And so he's saying, well, then there's not enough people and it's not official, and unless there's a quorum, I'm holding off on my votes. What I came to find out from other websites that are not the mainstream news media, someone had done an interview with him on Wednesday, and you can find it just like I did, just Google it. And he actually in an interview on Wednesday, doesn't want to vote for the legislation because he doesn't understand where we're getting all this money. Where's the United States getting $2 trillion? And it's a good question. And I can understand it. Right now, I'm not sure that, considering what's happening in this country, that it's a good time to fuss about that. I've never understood where our government gets all their money. I mean, aside from taxes, the amounts of money that they spend on things, I don't understand it. I know that we are in debt to a lot of other countries, and I don't know. I don't know where we're coming up with the $2 trillion, but I guess it's there because in the stimulus package, again, most of us who made under $75,000 or as a married couple $150,000 are going to get $1,200 for an individual. You're going to get a check or a direct deposit if the IRS has your bank accounts on record for 2018. or $2,400 for a married couple, and then additional $500 per kid. If you made more than that, if you start making more than $75,000, then those amounts are going to scale down. Okay. And those exact numbers have not been published anywhere that I've seen, although they're probably somewhere, but I haven't seen them yet. Our hospitals are going to get $100 billion for rescue money, and also for any of us Americans who might not have health insurance. You don't have to worry, because you can get free testing and free treatment if you have the COVID virus. For unemployment, if you file for unemployment, you will get an extra $600 per week for up to 4 months, on top of your state Social Security benefits, or your state unemployment benefits. So that's an awful lot of money. And yes, some people may be making more than they did when they were working, but it's not going to go on forever. And let's just be cool. Let's just help each other out. Let's not complain about it. Okay. And what else is in that stimulus package? $500 billion is accounted in the stimulus package for struggling industries like the airlines and cities and states. So it seems like there should be a good amount of money for us to be able to be taken care of. I think it's awesome that the government is doing this for us. We need it, and we need to stay strong. And I want to circle back as we're maybe wrapping things up here. The local business of the day today that I am endorsing, plugging, recommending is Olives and Peppers Restaurant in Penn Trafford. They have delicious, fabulous Italian food. And if you live in the eastern suburbs, everybody knows about Olives and Peppers. Everybody loves it. Unfortunately, they had to close like all the other restaurants, but they're still doing takeout. And the phone number is 412, get your pens ready, 412-229-8481. 412-229-8481. Support your local businesses, guys. It's great. And even if you are watching and you live in the city, take a drive. Take a drive to get some good food. What better things do you have to do right now? Nothing. So go ahead and take a drive out to Olives and Peppers. You can give them a call. I believe they have some online ordering, so you can go to their website. And their address is 833 Harrison City Road, and they are open from noon to 8 p.m. So there's a nice 8-hour window for you to get some wonderful Italian food. And I know I can't wait till all the restaurants open up again, and that'll be one of the first places I go. They have great linguine with clam sauce. That's one of my favorites there. So if you can make it out to Olives and Peppers, tell your friends, tell your family, get in the car, take a drive out there. Again, there's nothing better to do than take a drive, so get in the car. If you live in Squirrel Hill, or you live in the South Side, or even if you live in the South Hills, take a drive, right? I mean, why not? The sun's coming out in Pittsburgh. I can't believe it. We have the worst weather here. And it was so gray today. And I think that's the other thing that's bringing a lot of people down in Pittsburgh, is that the weather's so nasty. So that's about it. So if there's no other questions or comments, we went over the stimulus package. If you have friends or family that are unsure, you can definitely send them the replay of this. And you can get all the information from here. But remember, I'm not a real journalist. I used to be a journalist, but I'm not anymore. And I'm trying to use my journalistic skills to, get some information out there so everybody understands it. Unemployment sounds like the best bet out there for people who need money. Unfortunately, if you are a business owner or you are self-employed, there's not a whole lot out there for us. I didn't see what was in the original stimulus package was a lot of money being given to banks for us to be able to go and get loans so we can meet payroll. And perhaps there is something going on, and where I'm getting my information left that piece out. I don't know. And I didn't see anything in the stimulus package for mental health. But if you are in a dire situation mentally, and you feel like you need to be hospitalized, or you're feeling suicidal, I would recommend just calling 911, whether you have insurance or not, and, you know, taking care of yourself in that way. And perhaps, you know, that'll be something that, you know, we can get covered in the rescue money that the government is giving to the hospital. So I don't know. I don't know. We're still learning and about this stimulus package, and we're still waiting to hear what happened, because Senator Massey is holding things up as of right now. So let's just minimize the amount of news we're watching, because it's, as I've said every day that I've been doing these shows, which has been almost 2 weeks now, or this is 2 full weeks I've been doing this, I think. I don't know. I'm so confused about what day it is and what's going on here. But we've been talking about how the way that the mainstream news media is presenting all the information is very sensationalized, and it makes us react even though we may not want to, because when we hear the bells and the whistles and the drum rolls and everything that all the news stations are doing, it makes our heart rate go up. Our brain subconsciously thinks that we're in danger, and so we start to have a panic attack. And that panic attack or that anxiety is meant to protect us so that we know to get out of the situation. But in today's world, where we don't have the same threats that we used to, we tend to over-respond and overreact to things subconsciously that we can't even help. So my advice to you is play the ABCs, and if you missed it, if you missed the ABC method, you can replay this, and I'm going to put up my little ABC. Activating event. The beliefs about the event equal our consequences. It's our beliefs about what's happening, not what's actually happening, that makes the consequence of anxiety, depression, et cetera, et cetera. If you really want to get into that method, it's called Rational Emotive Behavioral Therapy. Albert Ellis, a Jewish psychiatrist from New York, who invented the modality. It's very interesting. It's called REBT, Rational Emotive Behavioral Therapy. So if you're really, really interested in getting deeper into the ABCs, that's all Albert Ellis's stuff. You can look him up. I can post that too. Very interesting stuff. And don't forget to go to eat at Olives and Peppers. Support your local businesses, everybody, and hashtag Pittsburgh Positive. Stay positive, everybody, and we'll be back here on Monday live. And again, I never know exactly what time I can do it, because it depends on my client schedule and what's happening. I might do some mini ones over the weekend if I feel there's a need and anxieties are still ramping up. You know, I'll definitely hop on at some point tomorrow or Sunday. But until Monday, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Argentina, for watching. We're with you, Argentina. We're with you, India. We're with you, Italy. We're all in this together. And thank you guys for being a part of this. And don't forget about my mom and the lessons that we learned from Arlene T. Statlander. She was a fighter. She fought through 7 years of stage 4 lung cancer and eventually brain cancer, and never was hospitalized one day. She took great care of herself. She fought through it, and we all in the family learned how to live with that kind of uncertainty, and that's what we have to do during all of this. So I will dedicate this to my mom and to all of you out there who are, you know, a part of this. Thank you, and I'll see you guys back here on Monday.